Navigating a spacecraft through the directionless vacuum of space requires a constant, precise sense of orientation. Without a fixed up or down, engineers must rely on mathematics to define where the vehicle is pointing. This uses Euler angles. By measuring pitch, yaw, and roll, computers track movement along 3 axes. But these axes move independently until 2 align. Then the system loses a dimension. The rings overlap and rotation stops. Engineers call this Gimbal lock. To prevent a spacecraft from freezing in mid-rotation, Apollo-era designers had to look beyond a 3-part coordinate system. They found the answer in the work of William Rowan Hamilton. He developed Hamilton's Quaternion, a system that uses 4 components to describe rotation, ensuring a degree of freedom that 3 axes cannot provide. In the physics of 3D space, this 4-part structure is the mathematical minimum required to maintain a stable, continuous orientation. This same problem of orientation exists within the internal universe of human neurology. For decades, we have attempted to map human consciousness using binary or ternary models, reducing the mind to contrasts like thinking versus feeling, or the conscious versus the unconscious. Just like a 3-axis gyroscope, these reductionist models encounter their own version of Gimbal lock. They fail to account for states where the mind seems to freeze or lose its ability to process complex reality. If the mind functions as a system for navigating reality, we may be looking at a problem of geometric orientation rather than simple logic. To maintain a stable perspective across all possible configurations of experience, the brain may utilize the same 4-dimensional geometry required to steer a craft through physical space. The observer-dependent theory of everything, or ODTO, proposes that the structure of our observation is isomorphic to a 4-component quaternion. In this model, cognitive coherence requires 4 specific values. The first is experience. This acts as the scalar foundation, the accumulated weight of the observer's past. The second is focus. This specifies the direction of the observer's gaze, the vector of current attention. The third is emotion. This operates at a right angle to focus, representing the resonance and internal amplitude of what is being seen. Finally, there is wholeness. This describes the internal consistency of the mind's model, an absence of contradiction. This specific 4-part structure mirrors the mathematical engine Hamilton designed to stabilize rotation without the risk of locking. The ODTOE theory suggests that all 4 components must work in unison to provide a stable coordinate system for our perception of reality. Because this formula is multiplicative, the components are not independent. If the value of any one term drops to 0, the entire coherence of the observer collapses. When one axis of this mental quaternion fails, the observer loses the ability to turn towards certain states of reality. Mathematically, if the focus component is nullified, the mind enters a state of total distraction, the geometric equivalent of losing the ability to aim a camera. If emotion is removed, the result is alexithymia, or burnout. The observer is looking at reality, but the lack of an emotional axis means they can no longer resonate with it. These components are also non-commutative. In quaternionic math, the order of operations changes the result. This suggests that focusing and then feeling is a different psychological operation than feeling and then focusing. The sequence determines the final state of the observer. Under this model, psychological distress isn't just a mood, but a structural loss of a dimension, a state where the mind is literally locked in its orientation. This framework shifts our understanding of consciousness away from the idea of a biological computer processing data on a screen. In ODTOE, every thought acts as a geometric rotation, shifting your orientation within a space of potential configurations. The stream of consciousness we experience may be the continuous real-time adjustment of this quaternionic structure. It is this constant smooth rotation that maintains the observer's stability, preventing the system from locking into a single, rigid state. Consciousness functions as a multidimensional compass, a continuous process of orienting the observer within the infinite configurations of the world.